So barely about 3 weeks ago, the news broke out that Sheikh Yassim has pulled out of his United takeover bid, and that the boyhood fan of Manchester United, Sir Jim Radcliffe, is the new guy to buy a stake in Manchester United, 25% stake in Manchester United. The deal is yet to be finally agreed on. It has to go before the board. They would have to agree on the deal and sign the deal. It is reported that the deal will be worth around 1.3 or 1.5 billion for just 25%. For me, that's a lot. We're going to get into that and look at what it means, to Manchester United and for Manchester United, all the nitty gritties about this whole deal, the story behind the story. I'm here with Kofi Asiri. This is Sports 101. Kofi,
Yeah.
so I mean, it's clear now. Sheikh is out of the bid to secure Manchester United. He was going for a complete takeover, even with the arrangement that he's willing to pay the over £700 million debt that Manchester United owe. So he wasn't just buying the club, he's literally absorbing everything in relation to the club financially. Let's look at, first of all, the failed bid. What happened?
Well, I don't think I would call it a failed bid. I think that it was down to mistrust. It was down to a lack of forthrightness in the camp of the Glazers. I don't think that they were willing to sell it like the whole world wants us to believe. Indeed, some people have come up with a lot of conspiracy theories to the fact that they were just putting United out on the market to make more money. Because if you look at some of the figures that have been pushed around, it just tells you how viable economically Manchester United is. And for the Glazers, it was business as usual. A lot of people have had issues with the Glazers, and rightfully so. I mean, there's been a lot of misconception flying around that the Glazers have invested into Manchester United. They've not invested anything into Manchester United. They've not invested anything. Forgive me if I am digressing, but
No,
let
but
me set the record straight.
it's
I
part
mean,
of
they've
the
not
discussion.
invested one dime of theirs into Manchester United. What happens is that Manchester United runs a self-sustaining model. So all the monies that are being spent on players, all the monies that Manchester United has pumped into the entity, is money that Manchester United itself has generated. Indeed. If you take the ownership structures in the EPL, no owners were taking monies from the club. These Glazers for 7 years were taking monies from the club in terms of their profit share. You understand? So when people go about and say that, oh, okay, but you can't blame the Glazers. The Glazers have invested into Manchester United. Please, that's a fallacy. That is a complete fallacy. The Glazers are just investing Manchester United own money into Manchester United. What it means literally is that even without them, those monies would have been pumped into the club and more, because they are taking money away from the club. They are not putting any money into the club. So this is the conundrum that Manchester United finds itself in. I think that what happened, embarrassing. Honestly, I think that it was a big farce, in the sense that all of the drama, all of the emotions, all of the expectations, I had huge expectations that, I mean, listen, I mean, gradually we get to that point where somebody wins off these Glazers from Manchester United. Manchester United gets the opportunity to create a whole new environment, working environment, not just for the playing body, for the people associated with the club. Because a lot of people also do not know what happens behind the scenes, to a large extent, goes a long way to determine what happens on the pitch. You understand? If you do not have that kind of stable equilibrium in the background, there's no way you go ahead and achieve a lot of success on the pitch. So I was thinking that this was an opportunity to win Manchester United off the poisonous atmosphere, because you cannot.
Interesting choice of
No,
words.
I mean, you cannot dispel the fact that under the Glazers, they are poisoning the atmosphere of Manchester United. A lot of people are divided. A lot of people are not sure about what holds for them in the next foreseeable future. And so these are the things that were the issues on the board. But waking up to news that Sheikh has pulled out, I think rightfully so, because it looks like the Glazers were just using him to make more money.
So let's look at the backstory to this whole thing. Now, there was a deadline set by the Glazers and the board for the acquisition of Manchester United back in April. That was 2002. But before that, in November, Sir Jim Radcliffe had put in a bid of 51% to procure Manchester United. What many do not know is that this bid of 51%, was just to acquire the shares owned by the Glazers. So those who understand the nitty-gritties of shareholders and all of that.
Obviously, 51% majority
the majority share.
Yeah.
The Glazers own, as we speak, they own 67% of Manchester United. So they letting go of 51% means that they will probably be left about 16% or something like that. They will become minority shareholders. But they were willing to let go of that 51%. That was the arrangement they had made with Sir Jim Radcliffe. But when you went before the board, the whole issue is that because they were the majority shareholders, it would mean that the value of the stock or the price of the other minority shareholders would dwindle and would drop. So let's say Kofi, you're a minority shareholder at Manchester United.
The truth is that there are different classes of shares at Manchester. They have the A shares, they have the B shares. The Glazers, what they own are the A shares. You
so those who own the other shares, the value would reduce drastically.
Obviously.
So it actually became a legal issue. And they said no. If truly Sir Jim Radcliffe wants to acquire 51%, it should be 51% of the entire Manchester United share, not just your percentage that you are willing to let go. So that deal became a legal issue, so they had to quash it. Now, I think that Sir Jim Radcliffe has been smart. He picked from the playbook of the Glazers. You know, when the Glazers came in 2002, they didn't just come to buy 51 or they started with 15, 10, secured minority stakes, and per the United hierarchy, if you're able to acquire 30%, you have a seat to vote at the board to vote actually. So when they did that, then they proceeded to actually secure. At some point, they had almost about 90% of the shares until they started selling. Sir Jim Radcliffe has been smart because now he realized that, okay, I cannot buy the 51%. What I need to do is let me also start gradually. Go in for 25%. Now, this time around, the 25% is not 25% of the Glazer shares, but everything Manchester United. And the money he's proposing is so huge because just 25%, he's willing to pay 1.5 billion. United, as we speak, on the stock market is valued at 2.7 billion pounds. But where I think the Glazers were smart in not to accept the bid from Sheikh Yassim was that they realized that because their shares belong to the category A, because when it comes to shares and stock trade, you need to anticipate. I think they anticipated that in the next 2-3 years, the stock will rise again. So they demanded more. Per the story we are hearing, they demanded close to about 7 to 8 billion pounds. That's outrageous. 8 billion dollars. That's outrageous.
That's
because
6.3 million pounds.
That's outrageous because the value of the club is 2.5.
No, but this was a fee Sheikh was willing to meet.
Sheikh was willing to meet. But clearly you could see that based on the dynamics, they are not willing to sell to Sheikhs on the fact that one thing a lot of people do not know is United, the Glazers procured United from a hedge fund that they have invested in. And those who know what hedge fund is all about, it's basically an investment portfolio that rely on borrowing money and anticipating to buy companies and all that. So they use the hedge fund. The hedge fund borrowed money to procure Manchester United, which is done everywhere. No billionaire dips his hand into his own pocket to buy anything. Elon Musk never used his own 40 billion plus to secure Twitter. He used a hedge fund. You borrow money to do whatever you want to because they know you have the assets which can pay off if push comes to shove. So that's not wrong. But I think that where I want to agree with you is that the Glazers are being a bit greedy. Because listen, the club owes. somebody is willing to absorb the depth of the club, why don't you just let him do that? I mean, yes, you may lose all your controlling stake in the club, but at least you make tons of money. But clearly, they want to still, enjoy booty from Manchester United.
Well, the truth of the matter is that I think that they are deciding to party with Sir Radcliffe because
I think they enjoy the friendship with Sir
exactly.
Radcliffe.
I mean,
Yeah,
because they will still have a table on the seat.
yeah,
of the
because
board.
I'm being
But
told
you
that
see,
the
you see,
25%, they are
you see, let
letting
me
go of
tell you
just 10% of their shares.
I've heard people make all sorts of disparaging comments about Sir Radcliffe. Nobody becomes a billionaire not being smart.
Oh, come on. You have to be,
I mean,
not just smart, you have to be greedy.
No. I mean, so this is somebody who knows exactly what he's doing.
Exactly.
Exactly. People have always pointed to the fact that, his own franchises across Europe that have not done so well.
In your
Nice,
sports.
you understand?
In Nice, France.
This season, Nice has undergone drastic changes in
true.
the off season. They are second on the league log in the French Ligue 1. So yes, it might have taken a long time to come, but I think that and the stories around is that he wants the sporting side.
control.
And I think that it makes a lot of sense. I mean, because if you're able to guarantee that kind of environment, that will make the working condition very suitable. Listen, Pep Guardiola is succeeding at City because of all the job that Begristan and Soriano do in the background. You do not hear a lot of noise coming out from City. There is relatively a peacer environment to work in. Look at Arsenal now. Look at the transformation they have.
The job Edu is doing behind the scenes.
They have seemingly gone through under Arteta.
Yeah.
You understand? Because there's stability off the field. But when it comes to Manchester United, too much chaos. You don't know why. Is the club being sold? Is the club not being sold?
Speak to this. Per his proposal, in that 25%, and we'll come back to the issue about the British and they not really wanting a British to own Manchester United because they feel that the investment might not be as much as probably these Saudis or these people. But before that, out of his that 25%, he says sporting control. But in that sporting control, he is going to be responsible for appointing the sporting director. He's going to be hands-on in the appointment of a coach. So whatever the sporting director decides has to be run by him. Then even go further in terms of player recruitment. And we are being told that there's one sporting director in France who manages the Neon Sports portfolio that he runs, that he's seeking to bring on. Won't that, amount to interference? Because yes, he's very knowledgeable when it comes to sports. But listen, the Glazers run a lot of sports franchise in America. But look at what they are doing at United. So it's not so much about you being knowledgeable. We can even cite Todd Bowley. It's not so much about football. The dynamics of football is different. Won't that amount to interference? Because I feel that...
I don't think it would amount to interference. I mean, the truth of the matter is that Manchester United have undergone a lot of transformation, especially under the Glazers. You look at the past chief executive, the former Manchester United Woodward.
Ed Woodward.
You realize that in the past, Woodward was virtually in charge of everything, jack of all trades.
He was a puppet of the
Glazers. I mean, puppet of the Glazers, doing everything and meddling in transfers, meddling in the sporting side. Then the Glazers decided to structure. They brought in Motor and all of them. All of these guys in the background to bring some structure. I think that modern clubs who are doing well in the contemporary era have always had a proper structure.
Okay.
You understand? I mean, there's talk about the fact that if he comes on board, you bring the former Liverpool sporting director.
Yes.
You understand?
Let me get you.
So these are the issues that I think that ought to be dealt with. But there are interesting times ahead for Manchester United. Yes, we might not have gotten the popular choice. I would have wished that the Sheikh would have taken over, because if you look at the projections that he made, if you look at not just transforming the club, transforming the infrastructure of the club, transforming the community where the club finds itself in, it would have been absolutely
was that not a mere business talk because you want to procure something? So but you know these businessmen, they are smart.
But if you look at these Saudis and if you look at this middle Easterners, you understand? They do not just make promises, they walk the talk. I mean, all of those people from the Middle East who have taken over big clubs in Europe, they have walked the talk from PSG to Man City to all, list them. They have walked the talk.
There's this talk by, I don't know if you know Michael Edwards, where he
Yes,
makes
that was
reference
Michael
yeah,
Edwards.
yeah, he makes reference to the fact that they do not really want a lot of Middle East and Saudi investment in Manchester United is a proper British entity.
Well,
Because listen, and people have spoken fondly about these things and probably made jokes about it, but behind closed doors is real.
no,
Do the fans of Manchester United and the future of Manchester United, will it matter who owns the club at this
I
particular
don't think
moment?
it matters. I mean, as long as you can get it from the Glazers, nothing else matters. Just get it off the boots of the Glazers. I mean, once you're able to get it off the boots of the Glazers, I don't think anything else
Why are
matters.
people?
Because, truth be told, there's been a lot of misconception and a lot of untruth
But
flying around. I mean, one of the days you were here defending the Glazers,
But
that
you
they've
see-
invested so
yes,
much.
but
They
you see,
have not invested anything
Kobe,
into Manchester
Kobe,
United.
where I would
They
want to-
have not invested one penny
where I would
into
want to
Manchester
disagree
United.
with you is, if you talk about investment comes in diverse forms. Now, I own a club. The club is self-sustaining because of the model of the club. I do not need to dip my money into my pocket and put money in the club for you to know
But you would
I am
rather take
investing.
money from the club.
Because based
You would
on
rather
the
take
arrangement,
money
because
from
I
the club.
own shares.
You own shares.
I have every
No,
right
no,
to,
you
because
see, no,
at the end of the
you know,
year,
I-
at the end of the
no,
year, the
no,
club
no,
makes profit.
I disagree
The-
strongly.
Kofi,
I
and
disagree
you
strongly.
know this.
You know, Manchester United
When the profit
was
is
being
made,
run properly pre the Glazers.
That's true.
Yes. So the model has always been there.
I'm
So
not-
if you go out making
See,
theories, I mean,
so-
listen, if you go out
Yeah.
making theories that the Glazers have invested heavily,
Uh-huh.
no, you could have owned Manchester United and did nothing less than what the Glazers
I
are
don't know,
doing.
but I see at least they've given some level of free hand.
Please,
in the
let's
essence
not
that
go there. Because
now
in the past there was a misconception that they were pumping money into the club. They have pumped no money.
it's not about
They are
pumping.
taking money from the club.
It's the money, not their money.
It's not their money.
How do I own shares in a club? At the end of the fiscal year, the profits are divided. I get my dividend. Then you tell me I do not have the right to get the money.
Owners in the EPL who have taken dividends from the club.
What from this logic?
From a club.
If others have
Even
decided not
when
to
the
take,
club is heavily owing.
if others have decided not to take,
Why would you
this is
decide
their
to mortgage
legal-
the future of
it is
the
their-
club
it is their
against your
legal right.
I mean,
but,
you see,
but guys,
once you start talking about legalities,
but guys,
we are venturing
this
into
discussion has been interesting.
lot of-
we hope to see what pans out in the coming weeks and what will happen. I'm sure the deal will be concluded because it is too juicy for Manchester United to probably, because Salah just 25% is worth over 1.5 billion pounds. That's
Obviously,
a lot.
I've always told you that
It's very,
Manchester
very
United
juicy.
is the biggest soap opera in the world.
It's very, I mean, that everybody knows
Biggest
that.
soap opera, yeah.
So we hope to see what happens. But for the future of Manchester United, it hangs in the balance. We do not know whether this will have a positive impact. Maybe when the deal happens, because we will come back and look at the impact of this deal on the field of play.
I
Because
mean, get Radcliffe in. I mean, anybody to get the
Guys,
Glazers off, I'm
we are
in for
shooting.
that.
We are shooting at the Sox Hub at the Takrado Mall. An amazing place to be. Come here, grab some drinks. We are having a lovely time. Grab some drinks, grab any food you want. Just come enjoy yourself. They are open every day. From 7, you can just come. They'll be open. They'll serve you. This is Sports 101. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. If you have not subscribed, like our videos, comment, and let's get engaged.